Happy cheers. Unplanned live stream as usual. I just usually just kind of go through my feeds. And I'm like, if I see something interesting, I will say, didn't really think about that. So when it comes to all of the charges against Donald Trump, what is it, 34 counts of felony, all this stuff like that, I really didn't take a lot of that. And excuse me, yes, I am wearing my jacket because it's getting colder in the Midwest, but I feel like it's just not cold enough to power on my heat. And I know like everybody has different body temperatures. I am more like on the colder side of the house. So my house, we have huge houses. And so I have two huge houses on the side of my house. And those houses block any type of sun that I can get in my house. So I find that my house is much colder on the inside sometimes than it is on the outside. But I'm not trying to turn on my heat right now because it's just not cold enough to do that. So I'm telling everybody, y'all better put on some hoodies, bundle up, because that heat is not coming on until the end of October, early November. I'm not giving them people any more of my money than I need to. Yes, I am a cheap. I'm one of those old school moms where you got to turn lights off. You can't keep running water. You ain't about to take no 20-minute shower. You going to wash your ass and you going to get out of there, right? We ain't doing all that, right? 30-minute, 40-minute showers are luxuries that cannot happen every day. And if you're doing that every day, you obviously do not have any sense of home economics. But, anyways, I'm going through my feeds today, and this guy is talking about the Trump fraud case. Now, mind you, they done threw so many things at Trump. I just really refuse to keep up with all of it. Like, I have other things to do, and I just don't have time for all that BS. So I'm in the Midwest. So it's getting colder in the Midwest. So this guy has some interesting things because apparently Team F Joe, FU Joe, he's been following this case. So we're going to listen to Team FU Joe tell us a few things about this fraud case that just came out. So go ahead, Team FU Joe. He's on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
Appellate court this week. And by the time it was over, the closing arguments of the Democrat lawyers was just them begging to not get sanctioned. So look, many people aren't aware.
So I thought that that was just off the rip. He started that off great because I'm like, why are they begging not to be sanctioned? But he's going to go into why these lawyers are begging, or I guess their closing argument was really trying to save their own asses.
Aren't aware that the Trump fraud case went before the appeals court this week. And if you don't know how an appeals court works, there are 5 judges that sit in judgment for these cases. And they basically let the prosecution and the defense.
And this is just fair usage, so my content don't get strikes. So if you guys hear me interrupting, I just don't want YouTube to strike my channel sharing this blog with you guys, all right? So don't get pissed if I have to interrupt sometimes because we're trying to get through this together, y'all. All right? Teamwork makes the dream work.
And the defense both lay out their cases. And their job is to consider.
I'm going to start this over because we got a couple of more people chime in. So, bro is talking about this Trump fraud case. And there were some interesting things that came out of this fraud case that I thought we should just kind of pay attention to if you haven't been following all of those weaponized little things against Trump. We got one of them here to think about.
Court this week. And by the time it was over, the closing arguments of the Democrat lawyers was just them begging to not get sanctioned. So look, many people aren't aware that the Trump fraud case went before the appeals court this week. And if you don't know how an appeals court works, there are 5 judges that sit in judgment for these cases. And they basically let the prosecution and the defense both lay out their cases. And their job is to consider whether or not the case was worth hearing in the first place. And it went so badly for the Democrats.
Oh, let me stop. We got a commercial. Now, while we're waiting for this commercial to cycle through, I think that there's a couple of things that this dude says that's very notable because If your case is locked and loaded, secured, there is no way in hell you get to an appellate judge court and you need 5, 6 hours to prove your damn case. This is like he's saying some very interesting things to me. Like, I'm like, why would the judge give them 2, 3, 4 hours to prove something? They should have everything locked and loaded, if they truly believe that this was a justifiable pursuit. But let's listen to our dude real quick.
Lawyers, that by the end of it, their closing arguments was just them begging to not get sanctioned. So they argued a ton of different things throughout this case. But the biggest thing was the judges kept interrupting them. They kept saying, hold on, hold on, hold on. Can you find me one other time in history where the person who took the loan was able to call the bank that they took the loan from, and then that bank showed up and said, we weren't defrauded? And the lawyers spent like 2 hours trying to find one little
So, and excuse my nails, y'all. I got to get them redone, so they're not beautiful today. But I guess I'm trying to figure out why they didn't have these precedent cases locked and loaded. Like, I mean, I would think if I'm planning for a case, I'm going to think about all the things that I could be asked. And then I'm going to try to make sure that when I come to the table, I at least got some of these things addressed. Even if they're not addressed by these judges, I'm going to just make sure I got some other points covered so I'm not looking like an idiot and I require 2 additional hours to prove my case before these judges. This has been going on for a while, so I don't understand why anybody would come to a courtroom not locked and loaded with everything.
Instance where it happened. But then
I really should have been a lawyer.
Let's try something else. They said, "Hey,
the justice system is so corrupt. It was just not even on my radar.
For lying about the value
and plus,
of a
I couldn't
property
afford the shit.
when it resulted in the entire loan being paid back with interest." And again, they gave them like 2 hours to try to explain their case, and they still couldn't produce a single case where that had happened. And then the judges said, "Hey, you know what? We'll give you another shot." They said, "Have you ever seen an attorney general prosecute a case where there was no damage to the public, there was no damage to the person you said was defrauded, and there was no actual malice committed by the person who took the loan?"
And so one thing about that Trump fraud case that I really didn't understand is that the bank themselves was coming to bat for Trump. That should have been like an open close, like they were trying to prove a malice that even the bank said was not there. That was the weird thing about that for me.
And then they took another like 6 hours on that one. And by the end of it, the judges were like, "So you don't have any instance of that happening?" And then by the time they were done, the judges were like...
And what's really crazy to me is that the judges gave them hours to research precedented cases of which there was literally no harm or no malicious intent on the table between the parties transacting. Like, that's the thing. It's like, show us an instance where even the party who was supposed to be defrauded comes to bat for the person that you're accusing. And they say, hey, there was nothing here. But they're sitting up here trying to create a scenario where there's something there. And even the bank is saying, no, this is y'all trying to recover on something that has nothing to do with our transaction because we're coming to bat for this guy and saying that there was no fraud involved. So it's just, to me, when you guys hear me talk about like the weaponized justice system, first of all, I want to just be clear. I do believe that there are some good, honest-hearted people within the justice system. Maybe there are blue bloods, legacies of being in the justice system who go to work every day and they care to do right by the system, right? But there are corruptible assets in the justice system, right? People who can be leveraged to do silly shit like this. And at the end of the day, they're going to be begging for their damn jobs or not being sanctioned because they want to be on a bandwagon of political stupid. And this is what a lot of this witching of Trump was giving for a lot of people. And that's why this little witching of him leveraging the justice system definitely swayed many people's opinion, because it's like, it's not that deep that you would corrupt our justice system to get this guy not running for president.
I don't even know if this
And
is
I
a
want to
case.
shout out again, I don't use TikTok. My kids aren't allowed to use TikTok. But if you are a TikTok user, this dude is at Team FU Joe on TikTok.
That should have been brought. And they said, look, y'all might need to be sanctioned for bringing this case in a malicious manner. One of the judges.
So now the judges are like, bro, we gave y'all all these extra hours to even just legitimize the intent of your case. And at this point, these judges are looking at these lawyers and they're like, your case is giving malicious intent for political brownie points. Right? And so now they're putting sanctions on the table.
If this is a case that should have been brought. And they said, look, y'all might need to be sanctioned for bringing this case in a malicious manner. One of the judges actually said, I have come to believe that since a case like this has never been brought in the history of the country, not only New York, that you have only brought this case because the person was running for president, which would put you afoul of not only multiple regulations regarding the law,
People
but would
just
also
be risking their damn careers for stupid shit. It's like, have some integrity, have some conviction. That's what integrity and conviction really mean, is when you say, if somebody come at you and say, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and it doesn't sit right with your soul, you reject it. No matter how much gain you feel like you're going to get, at the end of the day, these people aren't gaining. These people aren't gaining because they're going to look, if this whole fraud case go away, right? Those lawyers have tarnished their own reputation being on a political witch hunt. They have no respect or credibility except among the people who were like, it's okay, you'll get over it, right? But they're not the ones walking around with a tarnished reputation to not only their personal character, but their career.
also run you afoul of electioneering interference. In fact, at the end
Oh, I
of
want to
it,
go back to that, bro. Would you say now?
case because the person was running for president, which would put you afoul of not only multiple regulations regarding the law, but would also run you afoul of electioneering interference. In fact, at the end of it, when they got to give their closing arguments, instead of arguing the value of their case, instead of arguing that like we should have been able to bring this case because of X and Y and all this shit, they actually just said at the end, we hope that the court will take into account that lawyers need to be able to bring cases like this without the threat of sanction.
No, lawyers need to be able to bring substantial cases before these judges with like a real premise for why they are pursuing somebody beyond political brownie points. Apparently, and you can just kind of tell by the way that these judges are drawing their conclusions of these presentations, that they're like, this is just a weaponized witch hunt. Like, we had to give you 2, 3, 4, 6 hours to substantiate stuff. Your case isn't even that tight because you're coming with malicious intent. You're not coming with real pursuit of justice because the damn bank already told y'all they didn't feel like they were defrauded. So now y'all just throwing all kinds of little colorful things, weaponizing the legal system, defiling the legal and justice system so that y'all can just witch hunt this dude, right? So now these judges are like, maybe we should step back and not look at him. We need to get like Old Spice. Look at him. Now look at them. Look back at them. Y'all weaponizing the justice system. Y'all weaponizing the justice system. And even these judges are concluding this. That's why they dropping sanctions. They're popping out the sanction word on y'all asses because the shit looked just that obvious.
Basically, they were saying, we hope that you decide that We're not
Now,
going to
instead
get.
of doing closing arguments to substantiate the case that they put before them, they're doing closing arguments to cover their asses. Lawyers should be able to do. Now they want to be victimized, right? They was big stepping. Oh, we're pursuing Trump. We're doing this. They probably was all geeking over the fact that they was the faces taking down Trump. Now y'all got sanctions looking at y'all, and now you want to play the victim. This is what these people do. You throw rocks, and then you try to hide your hand. This is the culture and the society that we have right now, and these so-called leaders, so-called bigger intellectuals in society, right? They're nothing more than these just little nepotistic assholes who are throwing rocks and hiding their hands for political brownie points. And this stuff is getting way too obvious. Find better puppets. Find better puppets. Liberals, you guys got the liberal arts on lock. Y'all not turning out good puppets and thespians for these little puppetries.
Arguing that like we should have been able to bring this case because of X and Y and all this shit. They actually just said at the end, we hope that the court will take into account that lawyers need to be able to bring cases like this without the threat of sanction. Basically,
no, you can bring cases like that, but the manner in which you bring the cases absolutely matter. Time, place, and manner.
They were saying we.
I should have been a lawyer, y'all. I really wish I would have just saved money to go to law school. I'd be just sitting in these people's asses on the nonsense. Y'all have no ethics or morality.
Fraud and having to pay $500 some odd million, and the whole left celebrating about that. He's going to get all that money back because the appellate court was like, this is a bullshit case. The people he took the loan from literally came to court on his behalf and said, hey, we weren't defrauded. We knew he overvalued Mar-a-Lago. We took that into our calculations. And even if we had...
Whoa. I mean, listen to what the bank is saying. They're like, we felt like there was an overvaluation. We took that into account in our calculations. We took that into account in our calculation. This is what the bank is telling these people.
Overvalued Mar-a-Lago. We took that into our calculations. And even if we had taken that into our calculations, and the value of Mar-a-Lago was part of 0.14. Like the president of Deutsche Bank said, you know why we gave him the loan? It had nothing to do with the value of Mar-a-Lago. It had to do with we given him 21 other loans. And
he had credibility with the institution. He had credibility, like the basis for the approval on the loan. What they're saying, it really didn't have anything to do with the valuation of Mar-a-Lago. It really had everything to do with previous business relationships with this dude that actually worked out well. And so we felt secure enough to run this loan to him. This is what I'm reading from this or hearing.
With interest. We were giving him the loan regardless of the value of anything. And
right, so they weren't even looking at his assets and liquidity like that because he had already had a track record. He had already had a track record with them. So like Donald Trump is not like your regular Joe or Jane where if you were kind of doing some type of underwriting decision for a loan, right, you would be looking at their liquidity. You would be looking at their assets owned because they're not Donald Trump. They're not a billionaire, right? You'd be doing all that stuff. But what they're saying is that this is a higher class client. We've had previous dealings with this guy's 21 other dealings to be specific. So we weren't looking really at his hard assets or anything like that to make this determination.
The appellate court was like, how do you have a case? Deutsche Bank literally said we were...
Bro, go back. This dude is looking just as perplexed as me. How do you have a case?
We were giving him the loan regardless of the value of anything. And that's where the appellate court was like, how do you have a case? Deutsche Bank literally said we were giving him the loan regardless. And that's when they started begging to not get sanctioned.
Okay, so this is when they knew that, like, basically the shit hit the fan, right? That, you're claiming fraud, right? And so when you say that fraud has been that fraud has happened, that means that there has been a victim. Who would be the victim in this situation? It would be Deutsche Bank. But Deutsche Bank is saying, why are you guys victimizing us? We're not victims here. We don't perceive this transaction as being fraudulent because there were certain determinations that we were making that this transaction was going to be approved regardless of the normal considerations for approval of a loan, right? So Deutsche Bank is like, bro, we're not victims. You can back off. Nothing to see here. And they're like, no, you are victims. You are definitely victims. And Deutsche Bank is like, no, we're not. And they're like, yes, you are. And we're going to make y'all asses victims because we're taking this to court for you. This is basically what I'm reading from this situation. Deutsche Bank didn't even want to be a damn victim. And they like, oh, you a damn victim today. Because we need to take his ass down and make sure he don't run for president again. We need a roster of charges on this guy because we're kind of witching him right now. So you're a victim right now. Everybody is a damn victim right now. All right? All right? So this is what I'm reading from this fraud case, right? And if I'm wrong, and I apologize, I like to get through the content before I jump into the comments, but hopefully you guys are chatting among yourselves. Shout out to those with useful comments. We know we always have that little sprinkle of passionate ignorance in here, but we'll let the devil's devil and keep it moving. But this dude, check him out. Like I said, I don't use TikTok, but he's on TikTok, Team FU Joe, at Team FU Joe. Bro breaks this down pretty good. Like, so if you haven't been following the fraud case or really understanding the premise of this case, I think this bro does a good job of breaking it down.
That's what happened with the Trump fraud case this week. Going really well for the Democrats. And now look,
So, and shout out to Liberal Hive Mind for sharing this video of this dude. So I thought that this was a very interesting outcome because, like I said, they keep bragging about, oh, he had 40 or 34 this, 34 that, 34 that. You're going to vote for a felon. They were constantly using these charges in conjunction with the public's voting decision. And that's how I ultimately knew that they were organizing a witching. And so, like I said, I read between the lines on all of this stuff now because obviously they want to program your mind to think certain ways without looking in between the common sense of things. If you guys want to say that Trump is guilty of this, that, blah, 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 go ahead. You believe whatever you want to believe. But when it comes to this particular fraud case, to me, you cannot tell me that the people who have pursued this case did not go in with malicious and political intent. And even the damn bank said that they were not victims. It's like they damn near forced Deutsche Bank to be a damn victim when they were like, no, we had a relationship with this guy. You were determining that this transaction was fraudulent because you're trying to take this dude down. You're weaponizing the justice system to try to take this dude down. And it's disgusting. And now they are looking at the threats of their closing argument was not to substantiate the premise of their case at all because they couldn't substantiate it. They were looking silly as hell. Even the judges were looking like, I'm not sure this should even be here, right? Now they're questioning, right? We're giving you 2-3 hours to go find precedents of anything remotely close to what y'all asses are doing right now, and you can't. Y'all looking like chickens with y'all heads cut off, right? Because you leverageable assets in the corrupt aspects of the justice system, right? And now you facing sanctions. So you can't even close your argument on the BS that you put on the table because now you're like, oh my God, I got to save my career and my ass. Because now these appellate judges are saying that I need to possibly be considered to be sanctioned. So you guys have, think about this, right? I did have one other topic, and I'm not going to stay on this one for very long. I want to shout out Queen Choma for talking about this real quick. And it's about these crying harlots, all right? You see some of these women parading around and, objectifying themselves, right? Back in the 90s, they used to say rap and hip hop, these guys are objectifying black women. Now in 2024, they don't need the men. They don't need the men to objectify and sexualize themselves. So, with that being said, we're going to bring Angel Reese to the front of the congregation, honey, because you cannot be talking about you have been sexualized and all of these things when you make a habit of running around to your job with your ass out. And I get it. These women, they are playing in a male dominated sport, so they're trying to have some sense of feminism. But I saw Angel Reese recently, and I could swear I could have saw her ass as she was walking into the arena. And I'm like, honey, nobody has to sexualize you. Nobody has to sexualize you because you will always beat them to the punches. You are the MVP of sexualizing yourself, Angel Reese. Nobody can do it like you. All right, honey, you need a little bit more grace. You really do. And I'm just saying this, she's a young, beautiful young lady. She has a beautiful body. But sometimes a woman's mystery is her majesty. And I think if you do a little bit better, people won't be sexualizing you. You won't be crying.
And strong for my teammates because I don't want them to see me down and like not be there for them. So I just want them to always just know like I'm still a human. Like
okay, let me go back because I want to go to all of her statements.
I have great teammates. I have a great support system. I got my hometown. I got my family that stands up for me. I don't really get to speak out on things just because I just try to ignore and I just try to.
And I want to just mention, like when I saw this is an older clip of Angel Reese talking about being sexualized, but this was giving Megan Thee Stallion too, right? Because Megan Thee Stallion falls into this category too. She's a crying harlot, right? Crying harlots is what I think of these women, where you do certain things to create a perception about yourself, and you yourself can't own the perception that you have created, that people have about you. Most of the times, these people are creating the perceptions of themselves, or they are being instructed to have this perception of themselves, and they don't know how to own it. They don't know how to own it, and that is an indication that these people are not running around with the confidence and conviction that they have to pretend that they have. So I don't know who is choosing to dress Angel Reese like she dresses when she goes to work every day, right? But you cannot be crying foul. You cannot be crying, I'm being sexualized, if you are sexualizing yourself first.
Strong, like I've been through so much. I've seen so much. I've been attacked so many times. Death threats. I've been sexualized. I've been threatened. I've been so many things.
And she doesn't deserve any of that negative energy in terms of death threats and all of that. She doesn't deserve that. Anybody out there doing that, like honestly, you should pretty much you deserve the fate you trying to put on her. But at the end of the day, we can't absolve Angel Reese of the sexualizing of herself and then being mad when people feed into those projections, and they too sexualize her. And this is what a lot of these women have to really understand. At some point in your life, right, you're going to have to understand how you want to present yourself out there. And if you want to be this hot girl summer bopping looking harlot where all your goods are out there to see for everybody, there's no mystery to you, right? Then you are going to get these negative reactions from people, and you can't sit up there and say, I'm a good person, I don't deserve it. It's like you could be all those things, but you are a woman running around clearly not respecting yourself. Like, my thing is, men are visual creatures. Men are visual creatures. And I don't think it's fair for women to absolve that natural inclination of men by running around half naked and then expecting these men not to say anything. then you get mad when they say something or whatever, because it's like, it's not for you. But no, honey, it's not for him. It's for him, and him, because you're showing it to everybody. You're showing it for everybody. Even if you have not designated the man for it to be for, the fact that it is out there for every single man to see. And this is the same argument I say about Cardi B. Even though she is married, right? Her whole career path, right, puts her in a position where other men are constantly coveting her, right? And a dude like Offset is never going to just deal with something like that without lowering her frequency. So that ninja is always going to be cheating on Cardi until she brings that frequency down a lot. And a lot of women may not understand what I'm saying, but trust and believe, when you get a decent man in your life, you're going to understand what I'm saying. It's not about lowering yourself. It's about the fact that he is the protector, right? The first thing you're going to think about if there is a problem is him solving it, unless you're one of them weird femme fatales that was raised like a man. But I just say, Angel Reese, you have a promising career before you. You are a beautiful woman. You can kind of brand yourself out into different ways. You have to make a decision how you want to project yourself. And right now, you're deciding to sexualize your own self and your projections. So you cannot be crying about being sexualized. You cannot cry about being sexualized unless somebody is forcing you to dress in the manner that you are dressing and bopping around like you do. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much to those of you who have tuned in. Appreciate the valuable, smart, intelligent folks for chiming in. If you're a troll, honey, I don't even be looking at these comments like this to be looking at your demonism. I promise you. I don't. Trolls are demons. If you on the internet trolling, you are a demon, and you don't align with anything that I do over here. So we just gonna ignore your demonic ass like everybody else in life and keep it moving. But you guys have a wonderful day. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you would not disrespect or abuse yourself, do not disrespect or abuse your neighbors. And just remember, the closest neighbor in your life is the people in your family first, right? You can't treat your neighbor next door better than you treat the folks in your household. So we need to get our families tighter. We need to be more respectful for each other, right? Children, be obedient to your parents, that it may go well with you, right? It may go well with you because your parents have been in this game called life longer than you, and they've seen what it is, and they're smarter than you. Don't ever let a teacher tell you that they're not. So you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Let me know what you guys think about that Trump Appellate thing. These folks are out here trying to scramble closing arguments to say they damn jobs instead of put the case to substantiate the case, because these judges are now saying, we think you guys should be sanctioned. We think you guys put this before us for political brownie points, and it's notable. So check out that case if you have not been following it. I think some of this stuff is very interesting because, again, when they start weaponizing the justice system and just throwing this, that, or other, piling on charges on anybody, whether it is Donald Trump or even Sean Diddy Combs, I'm saying, I'm not, like I said, I don't think Diddy is an innocent dude by any stretch of the imagination. He's a wicked devil. But am I going to believe everything they just piled on this man after I done seen them weaponize the justice system? And again, I don't think the Diddy thing has anything to do with him being black, because I always point people to Trump. Like, we just seen a whole white man have the U.S. justice system weaponized against him for political brownie points. So I don't believe anything. Big ups to the men and women in the justice system who actually go to work every day with ethics and morality on the mind, and that you're not a leverageable asset out here trying to get political and social brownie points. All the while, you are handling your job in a manner that is not favorable to the people that you need to be serving. So have a wonderful day, guys. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye.